Milsurp Garage. All right, what do we have today? Today, we're going to do a discussion on gun research. So here's what we have. We got a couple of Smith & Wessons here. 2 4-inch barrel Smith & Wessons. Done videos on these before. And I did not watch these videos again, just so you know. So if I repeat anything or whatever, it's only because I'm doing a video on like a different subject. And I kind of did a video on sort of like just ownership of these individually. I think I did them individually. See, I don't even remember. But I don't want to be corrupted by the information that I gave before. I just want to be able to do this video on, on what I want to do it on without being jaded. So this is a 4-inch barrel, 357, 4-inch barrel, 22. So now, here's my point with today. You could do research on guns just by sitting down, going through your books, or just browsing through the internet, stream of consciousness kind of thing. One thing leads to another. You find something interesting, you go in that direction. It could lead to links to something else. And you could research like that for hours and hours, have a great time. But there's a different kind of research. I kind of like doing this is when you own something specific that you could do a type of research that's like microscopic. It's almost like now you're bringing out the microscope. You could study Smith & Wessons all night and not come close to being detailed really about any specific model or breaking down like little tiny things. And that's a cool thing about this hobby. And started doing something like that and then thought this would be a great idea for a video. So again, I have these two. I'm gonna show you dates of these and specific stuff in a moment, but let's just say I'm gonna show you where I started doing this research. So in a book like this, my Encyclopedia of Modern Firearms, back when this book came out, like in the 50s into the 60s, these were modern. So with this book, I highly recommend this book. It's like a Brownell's book. I think I even did a video on this book. You can see the different printings. If you get one of these and you're into stuff that's through the 50s into the 70s like that, and you want that to be your modern guns that they're talking about, make sure you get one. This is the 16th printing. In other words, if you get just this second or third print of the first or whatever, like 59 into 60, you're not going to be able to do research on guns that are into the 60s and into the 70s, So, you start doing research, you come up with something like this. You go, okay, around this time, we have the Combat Masterpiece. So let's say this is called K22 Masterpiece. Here it also says model number 17. This is what I mean by like a very general type of research that you can do, because you can just flip through here, look at all different kinds of Smith & Wessons, and really do like just crunching all this information into your head. But here's the two that we're looking at right here. And this is just really has a lot of information here that's all just kind of lumped together. Like it's saying the K22 Masterpiece 6-inch barrel. I don't see a 4-inch barrel one here. So, this would be, they're like model 15, model 16, model 17, then it goes to 19. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Well, I guess the 18 would be the 4-inch barrel. That's not even listed here. But I'm just assuming, let's say, that it would be 18 because it's not here. They wouldn't just skip right from 17 to 19. They used every other number, right? And the 357 Combat Magnum, again, just showing you basically what they offered. Then you could tailor your information down a little bit tighter. This is the History of Smith & Wesson by Jinx. So now I'm going to tighten that research up a little bit. And again, this book is so awesome. let's show what we're up to in this book. So this is where we're at in this book to be around the 50s and 60s. And look at all of this meat back here. So like, was Smith & Wesson an old company? I mean, oh yeah. Smith & Wesson was around for a hella long time. I mean, look at what we got back here. Okay, we're going through, we're passing by a lot of people that are doing other specific Smith & Wesson research back there, trust me. And we get up here into the K-frame revolvers. And this is where we're at to do the research that we're looking for. So, okay, now we get a little bit more detailed here. Smith & Wesson's Masterpiece series, which was comprised of the K22, and then in parenthesis, Model 17. This still needs to be explained to us. Let's say that, like, all right, there's obviously two different model distinctions there. What's going on? And so we dig into the specifics here. And to cut to the chase, we're going to sit here and like actually read the book. But basically, what it comes down to is the K22 was released in 1931. I'm going to just move this to the side for a second. Let's just break this one out by itself. So here's the... So it's hard to tell them apart when you just go to grab them. Here's the K22, okay? And I'm going to put the information on mine here. So this is my information here. That's a little tough to read, sorry. It's, again, I wrote Model 17, K22. That's actually wrong. I'm going to show you why. I need to change this tag, actually. Or if the Model 17 was in parentheses. Here, you know what? Let's, wouldn't be so bad if it was in parentheses. Let's take care of that. There we go. Hello? Obviously, dexterity, as well as my breathing, is not working too well these days. Okay. The K22. It was released in 1931 as the K22 Outdoorsman. What's cool about this? This specific revolver, why is this pivotal? What was this thing's, cool invention? Everything had like a something. Well, not everything, but it's kind of cool that you find out what specifically did this particular model bring to the handgun community that was different than everything else. The claim to fame here was in 1931, the recessed cylinder here, so that the where are my here they are, so that the rounds laid flat. See that? Then they were recessed in there. Why was that something that was cool? Well, Winchester and Remington ammo in 1931, they had this high-speed ammo that surpassed 1,450 feet per second. It was the ammo technology moved ahead farther than any of the gun manufacturers were able to handle that technology. And bursting case heads was a huge problem in revolvers and in semi-autos, because the head of the bullet, the rim, was what was buttressing up against the cylinder, and it was tearing the case heads off. And Smith & Wesson was able to incorporate this recess right here to just dominate and handle that ammunition perfectly. But intriguingly, no patent was issued for that, and it's one of the most copied designs in like revolver history because of that. So there's different series for these now. So let's see where we fall for 1956, right? We're 1956, so where do we fall? Series 1 was 1931 to 1939. And that was that was just series 1. And series 2 started in 1940, but because of World War II, production ended real quick. Those are actually kind of rare, the second model. In 1946, the third model started, and it was made specifically. The reason why they actually the changes that they made, they didn't just go back into production after World War II. They changed it, and they changed it to match the weight of the K-32 and the K-38, a 32 caliber and a 38 caliber revolvers that they had. So they wanted it to be like a family, and they called it the Masterpiece series. That's where the word masterpiece comes in. So they made these from 1946 as the K-22 Masterpiece until 1957. So this is the last year it was a K-22 Masterpiece. And in 1957, it became the Model 17, which lasted until 1996. So that's the specific history and claim to fame for this guy. But then there was one other interesting thing. Remember we saw a 6-inch barrel, but we didn't know what 4-inch was? Okay, well, I was a little curious about that. And I was also curious that, see this guy, we're unloaded here. I was also a little curious about this muzzle. This is not your typical looking Smith & Wesson muzzle here. And the front sight was a little odd too. So there was that. So doing my research, let's get the book back in here again. Remember, we're 1956. So I go, okay, let's scroll in over here. There's some stuff where we could date and break down over here. Sorry if we have some glare. So we have dates here and serial numbers. So our serial number is 504. And then it doesn't really matter. It's 504, then blank, blank. But we figure 504. And it doesn't actually go by serial number here. It just goes by date. So we were again 1956. So elimination of, in 1955 was elimination of top plate screw. I think that was right up here. Oops, sorry. That was right up here where that would be. And that was 1955. And then all these other stamping of model numbers, that was in 59. So we're in 56. And in 57 is where they started calling it the model, was it 17? Yeah. Then obviously there is no K-22 Masterpiece stamping. If they started in 59, they'd only be stamping model 17. It'd be like 17-2, 17-1, like that. And this obviously wouldn't have that. And yeah, and there you go. We don't have that. We don't have that. So all of these other things, in 1959, they also changed from right hand to left hand thread on the extractor rod. See the extractor rod here where it threads in here. They changed to I think it's from left hand to right hand thread. Oh no, wait, they changed it from right hand to left hand, right? So this has a right hand thread. Change in cylinder stop, eliminating the screw in front of the trigger guard. That was in 1961. So obviously we're going to have that, and there it is. So you start to get this specific type of knowledge, so that if you just walk into a gun show and there's one of these just laying there, you're just like, boom. You're just like, you're looking right here. You don't see a screw right here. You know it's after 55, right? And then you go, boom, you look down here, you see a screw over there. You know it's before 1961. You're just dating these just by looking at them. It's how you become like a real expert of what stuff that you own. Unlike any other type of research, you know. And relocation of the rear sight leaf screw was 1967. Excuse me. So you have that, and plus, here, let's zoom out a little bit here. Here's the Combat Masterpiece models. Once production of the K Masterpiece series was underway, the factory began receiving inquiries from law enforcement. Oh, no, wait, that's not where I wanted to be. Hold on, I'm sorry. It's more... Was it Combat? Yeah, I'm sorry. Combat Masterpiece, yeah. They began receiving inquiries from law enforcement agencies requesting the K38 Masterpiece with a 4-inch barrel. And by 49, inquiries were so strong, they produced a limited quantity of both the 22 and 38 with a 4-inch barrel. By 49, the demand was sufficient to place them both into production. Between 49 and 1960, they experimented with several barrel lengths, 3.5, 5-inch, aluminum frames. See, all kind of craziness. See, that's why somebody that had an aluminum frame one would be, just that microscope would be like right down there on that one sentence. That's right there. Like, oh, there you go. That's what I got, you know? So I'm like, there you go. There's the answer. I guess by 56, this was one of the 4-inch barrel ones, right? But no. Did a little bit more specific research. I want to show you something. Come in here. Come in here. Now, take a look at where Smith & Wesson is written on my barrel. Let me get this out of here. See where Smith & Wesson is written on my barrel? Here I'm going to put in a picture. I'm going to show you a picture right here of a K22 around the same year as mine. Excuse me. With the 4-inch barrel. Here it is. And take a look. I'm going to close up here, and I'm going to show you where the Smith & Wesson lettering is. Take a look. Doesn't line up. It's not in the same spot. Now take a look here. This is the 6-inch barrel. Look at the lettering on the 6-inch barrel. Here's a close-up of it. Look where that lettering lines up in relation to mine. That's how I know that this guy was cut down at some point and modified by somebody that had the 6-inch barrel and wanted the Combat Masterpiece. And for me, that actually worked out kind of cool, because the second part of this story, the second part of our research, is going to be that it's kind of cool that that matches up to my 357. Now the 357, let's target our microscope research on this guy. We saw what was in the big book, the Brunel's book. Showed a picture, gave some information, this kind of grips, this kind of that, this kind of that. And again, I'm sorry, the K22 has a target trigger. Look how wide the trigger is, wide the hammer is, and the grips. Triple T gun, they call it. So that's how they made those masterpieces. Now these, interesting history here as well. Let's turn it up a little bit. What's interesting about 1963 for the old 357 Magnum here? Well, and this is a straight up Model 19, because we're following the same guidelines here. You got to remember. Let's go back again. 63. So we should have elimination of the top side plate screw. Yes. Stamping of model numbers now. See, now, so now, since we're 63, this was 59, so yeah, we should have that. We should have the stamping of the model numbers like we didn't have before, but oh, what do you know? There it is. It's right in there. 19-2. I can see it. Right over there. So that's there. Change from right hand to left hand thread on the extractor rod. We're not going to be able to take them out, but I guarantee you it unthreads the opposite way. Change in cylinder stop, eliminating the screw in the front of the trigger guard. Oh, what do you know? Right there. And relocation of rear sight leaf screw. That was 1967, so that did not happen here. So since I only have these two, I'd really have to look at some pictures and do some research to find out what the hell they're even talking about with this rear, because neither of these have that modification. Okay, now, instead of Combat Masterpiece, we're going to go ahead a couple of pages here, a page here, to Combat Magnum. Combat Magnum. All right, sorry, I took a bit of a break there. The Combat Magnum.
What would you say you do here?
This was put together. Carl Hellstrom was the president of Smith & Wesson in 1954. He asked some border patrol, this guy that was a championship shooter, Bill Jordan. He asked this guy, Bill Jordan, what he considered to be an ideal gun for law enforcement. And this guy said, well, we should take the K-frame that you have this 38 and the 32 on, and instead of using the N-frame for the 357, we should bring it to the K-frame, the 357 to the K-frame. And then instead of having the extractor rod exposed, let's cover it like we do on the N-frame. We need a 4-inch barrel. We need this, we need that. They put together exactly what the perfect pistol would be, and they made it. And that was the Combat Magnum. And do we have any other information here? And yeah, so this was the guy. And the interesting research, let's say, that you'd find out when you start poking around with this guy is, so we have ours is from 1963. What makes it interesting is in 1963, the Secret Service, Kennedy was assassinated in 1963, and the Secret Service adopted this as their sidearm to replace, the hell knows what the hell they were carrying. Might have even been carrying, I guess they were carrying snub-nosed 38s. And this replaced it, and was used by the Secret Service all the way until 1992 when the SIG P228 9mm replaced it. From 63 to 1992. So, as a pivotal Combat Magnum here is one that was used that exact year. Could have been one that was assigned to a Secret Service agent, and. Also, Carl Hellstrom, the guy that seeked out to find out how to make a great 357 pistol and asked around and put this together, died in 1963, April 7th, 1963. So that type of specific research is where what you might find yourself doing when you have certain items in your collection. And just because yours are a certain year or a certain configuration is why you might find out something specific about yours, like the modification here to this K22, or why seemingly just a random innocuous 357 Combat Magnum could hold some significance when you do your research, just because it could have been the year that its daddy, the guy that brought it to life, left us, and also the year that it was recognized for what it was and brought into probably one of the most respected positions in any type of law enforcement, which is protecting the leader of the free world. And you wouldn't know that unless you pointed that microscope exactly at what you have and tore it and did your research. So until next time, You have been part of my fun research here in the Milsurp Garage. Appreciate you joining in, and see you all next time.
Music.